the halacha is that a person could marry a woman through an agent. Shliach. The act of marriage, of what's called the kinyan, the betrothal, could be done through. I could appoint someone to marry someone for me. I'm talking about only it's called the technical aspect of the marriage, the legal aspect. But that woman, she becomes my wife through my agent. So every Jew who said David's mentioning the idea of shlichus, that the Rebbe has messengers, and they are representing the Rebbe, the Rebbe is a messenger of God. Like all rabbis in have that those who are connected stronger, who have a better knowledge, better command of the Torah. Every Jew in essence when he does a mitzvah, he's a shliach of Hashem. He said the merkava. So some people have it on a daily basis, some on a constant basis. A tzaddik is someone that his entire life, all he's doing, he's an agent of God. And there's the regular people that they try, and they succeed in different levels of success. So when we're saying the Isur D'Rabbanan, sometimes people make a differentiation. They say, I keep the biblical. There's a difference between biblical law and rabbinic law. For example, if there's a suffix, a doubt, I'll just take an example. Don't use this at home. Make sure always whenever a question arises, consult with the rabbi. But what happens if you have a case? Let's go at this. Well, I think we spoke about this way back in the beginning of the Tanya Class. When something kosher or not kosher mix, or milk and meat mix. So biblically, when is it not kosher if milk and meat mix?
After 60s.
So biblically,
cook.
If you could taste it. If I eat the soup and I taste the milk, then it's mixed. A Jew is not allowed to really taste, but you can give it to a Gentile in certain cases to taste and tell you, but only if you could trust him that he's not going to tell you what you want to hear. So that's the biblical definition. Milk and meat together is when you can taste it. What happens if the milk in the meat is so minute that it cannot be detected?
If it's less than a 60th, it's okay, right?
So the sages gave us an amount. So that if it's less than 60th, it's definitely fine. But biblically speaking, if the majority is milk or meat, then the majority overpowers. It's a more general rule. What happens if you're not sure, you know for sure that there was a majority, there was more milk than meat, let's say, but you're not sure if it was 60. So the halacha is that it has to be 1 in 60.
How could it?
It's roiv. Roiv doesn't, it could be
How do you have to doubt?
you know that it's more this than that, but you don't know if it's that much more.
How do you measure it?
Let's say you can't measure it anymore. Let's say it's sometimes you can measure, you can see where the milk came from. But let's say you don't know now. You know that something mixed. You know that it wasn't more. Let's say you had a bottle of milk on the table, and someone poured some of it into the pot, and then someone drank the rest of the bottle. And by the time you realize that there's a problem, you don't know how much you put. But you know that the whole bottle, even if the whole bottle was spilled, it would be less than the meat in the pot. What do you do in such a case? So you know that biblically it's kosher. Rabbinically, we're not sure. So there's a rule that if you have a doubt in a biblical law, then we always take the stringent. Since you're not sure, if you're not sure if it was a majority or not, then it's called sveka deraisa lechumra. But if you know that the biblical need was met, the rabbinical need is a doubt if it was met or not, then you could take the more lenient. In certain cases, this is very complicated. These halachas, and so usually, unless you're well versed in it, don't decide based on what I'm telling you. Every case is different. There's many more factors you have to take into consideration. This is just an example. Here you see that there is a difference of rabbinic law and biblical law. The difference is, rabbinic law is, if there's a doubt, you take a more stringent, and the rabbinic law, the Rabbanan, you could take a less stringent, if in a case of doubt.
What is the pen on Shabbos? Is it rabbinical or biblical?
Which
Muktzah. Pen.
Muktzah is rabbinic. It's the Rabbanon.
Rabbinic.
The touch of pen.
So-
The right is the Raisa.
So if I know for sure that I'm not going to write
You
with
don't
the
know.
pen, I can carry it.
Yeah, you don't know.
That's what you just mentioned.
Huh?
That's what you just said. If you're sure, then you can take less stringent
So
method.
if you're unsure about what actually
If you're
happened,
unsure, but if I'm sure that I'm not going to write,
how are
then
you
I
so
can
sure?
carry it. Huh?
How are you so sure that you won't write?
I know I'm not going to write because Shabbos I can't write. So.
The problem is that sometimes when we do things that we're unaware, we carry a pen. You could come to write. That's what the sages said. They didn't do it because for sure you're gonna write. They did it because you might write.
Sayego Torah.
Siyag, yeah, they made a.
I have this paper, I have this pen, and I'm sure when I put a hold it here that I won't write on it.
You never sure.
Also, another difference is that in this case it was made as, like he said, like Charlie said, it's a siyag, it's a precaution.
A fence around the Torah.
The rule that I said is in the case that something happened already. So there's that difference. And but it doesn't mean that's just to illustrate that there is a difference of rabbinic and biblical law, so to speak. But first of all, following the biblical law, the rabbinic law is a biblical commandment. That's why we say, "Blessed are you, God, who commanded us to light the menorah, light the Hanukkah candles, or to read the Megillah."
Even though it's rabbinic.
Even eating matzah is biblical, but lighting the menorah is not written in the Torah. It happened many years later, or Megillah. Why are we saying, "Blessed are you, God, who commanded us"? We're saying that God commanded. Is that true? Yes, because God commanded that you have to follow the rabbis. One of the mitzvahs in the Chumash is follow the rabbinic law. And the rabbinic law itself has this concept that in a case of doubt you can be more lenient. Is not because we decided, it's because the rabbis decided. They said that to differentiate between biblical law and rabbinic law, we're gonna make this differentiation. And in case of doubt, you can be more lenient. So, don't make the mistake to think that rabbinic law is it's a precaution, but it's not as important, and it's not really God's will. It is God's will. It's God's will that didn't come directly through Moshe. It came through another channel. It is through Moshe ultimately, but it came in a step later, or
Through the
10 generations later, whatever it is, or now.
Through the laws built into the Torah that was given to Moshe on how to
interpret the Torah,
how to interpret it,
understand the Torah.
Yeah, specific laws of interpretation.
Those laws would become biblical, actually.
They will become biblical.
If the sages, it's not. There's many opinions about this, but what I remember is that if the rabbis proved from a verse in the Torah, based on those 12 principles that we say in davening every day, that is biblical law. The rabbis are interpreting biblical law. Then there's things that the rabbis added, like muktzah, for example. Muktzah is not written in the Torah.
But they can't just add.
Add mitzvahs. They could add muktzah is a precaution for Shabbos and milk and eating chicken. Not eating chicken and milk, although it's not written in the Torah, it's a precaution for not to mix milk and meat.
Doesn't the Torah therefore give the power to the rabbis for I guess their power is still in the Torah.
Their
Torah
power
gives
comes
them
from the Torah. It's like the president and the Congress have their power from the Constitution, so to speak. The Torah itself gives power. So the rabbis, by following, or let's wrap up what we started to discuss, by going on the Rebbe's shlichus, by being a shliach of the Rebbe, or by following a rabbinic command, you're not serving the Rebbe or the rabbis, you're serving God. God commanded that you have to listen to the rabbis, and God commanded that it says, for example, where is the idea of being connected to the Rebbe? It actually does say it in the Torah quite clearly. Yeah, it says v'davaktaba, it says to cleave unto God. So the Gemara asks, how could you cleave onto the Shekhinah? How could someone physical connect to something spiritual? So it says by being connected to Talmidei Chachamim, to the sages, and Talmidei Chacham doesn't mean only. There's a different. There's what's if we always translate Talmid Chacham as a sage. But think about it for a moment. What does it mean? What does the word Talmid Chacham mean?
I mean, is a student, Chacham is a wise.
Yeah, a disciple of a sage. Yes, a student of a sage. Yeah. So, obviously, there's the you have the concept over here. That you want your sage to be part of a tradition. You say a true sage has to be taught by a previous sage all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu, who was God's disciple, so to speak, directly. But on a deeper level, that there are wise people who know a lot, know a lot of Torah also, but the relationship of a student and a teacher is the student nullifies himself to the teacher. There's people that they study Torah, but it's a tool to get them fame, or they're just interested in. I have a lot of universities, a Judaic study department, right?
Yeah,
They're not rabbis. They're people who know. Some of them know more than some rabbis. There's a lot of bright people, but they don't have that commitment to that. I'm a student of the wisdom. The Talmid Chacham. I'm a student of the wisdom. Student means I accept the wisdom as supreme over me. The wisdom of the Torah defines my life. If I have my own life and I just happen to know what the Torah says, such a person you cannot rely on his decisions, because he's lacking the most fundamental aspect of Torah, which is that it's coming from somewhere greater than me, ultimately from Hashem Himself. But even in rabbinical, it's coming from rabbis. In Judaism, the later generations are always, we don't argue generally with there's different there's divisions. There's the Mishnah and the Talmud, and it's called the Gaonim and the Rishonim and the Achronim. One group, which is about every few hundred years of rabbis. There's a certain point the rabbis of the next generation they acknowledge that the rabbis of before knew more than them, so we cannot really challenge them and argue with them if we don't have the same information and the same command of the Torah. So that's the idea that by doing a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, a rabbinical command, we're actually observing a biblical command, which is actually following the will of God. So don't think that if I keep all the biblical law, biblical kosher,
The
the Doraita, but the rabbis I respect them, but it's not. It's their wisdom. It's their ideas. It was like a lot of people today say. What the rabbis decided was good for their time, not for our time. They didn't live in our world, in the modern world. We have to understand that God is really running the biblical law and the rabbinical law, the oral law. What the sages say is God's words. God is just passing it to you through the sages. He chose not to give it directly, and it's just as binding, unless the sages gave a specific reason. There's all different rules of how we decide in these matters. But if the sages gave a specific reason for their decree and that reason no longer applies, then there are times that we don't have to. It's not that we don't have to follow. It was given only in a certain circumstance. But otherwise, it's binding because it's God. It's Hashem through the sages. So we've gotten to this topic. It took a while, but let's go on. So, disobeying Hashem's will, whether it's something that you heard from God yourself, or something that you heard from Moshe Rabbeinu, you heard God appointing, or something you heard from rabbis or prophets, which you don't know if God told them what He said, what He's telling you that God said, but you know that God said that if a person acts in this way, and says this and this, then believe him that it's coming from me. Then that's obeying that is following Hashem, and disobeying it is in a sense idolatry, because you're acknowledging you're You're denying that Hashem is the only one over here. You're doing what you want, not what He wants. No matter how in which way it came to you.
So breaking the Rabbanan law is just as bad as breaking the Doraita law, you're saying?
Even worse,
Even worse?
in a sense. Yeah? It's, observing one it says that Chavivin, the rabbinical law is more cherished than the biblical law. Or Chamurim, something says also, it's more stringent. Why is that so? In Chassidus explain that the reason why God didn't write it is because it has a much greater level of godliness in it, in these laws, that they're too high to come in a direct command from Hashem. And that's why even a minhag, which isn't even as binding, actually comes from a higher source even than a derabanan, than a rabbinical. And it's you could think of it like this: that there's certain things that rules that you make wherever you're if you have a company or a family, so you establish different rules that people have to follow. And then there's people who know what you want, but it's too high to put it into words. But there's people that get it. A true son, for example, knows his father's will, even if his father didn't articulate it. And the reason why it wasn't articulated is because sometimes it's a bit too lofty to be articulated in the words. But someone who is really connected to the father, or he's a really good worker, and he knows what the boss means.
He'll pick it up.
He'll pick it up. So the mitzvahs are those that Hashem revealed to us. Then there's mitzvahs that Hashem revealed through the sages, that are coming from, so to speak, even a deeper place within God, if we could say so. And then there's minhagim, customs that are they're not even binding. If you don't do it, you're not disobeying any law. But by obeying it, you're tapping into the real hidden will of Hashem. Just like the son who knows what the father really means, even if it wasn't said. So could he say that someone who doesn't do it disobeyed? No, he obeyed. He didn't do anything wrong. But the minhag, it comes from a much deeper source.
So it's going that extra mile, Kaviyachol, the minhag, or not?
It is going extra mile, and it's reaching into something to even higher level. Within the Torah, then you have, for example, it's called they have the letters of the Torah, and you have the crowns on top of the letters. The crowns contain secrets that they're so elevated they cannot, you can't really understand it just from looking at the letters. You have to have special training. And it's not as crucial, so to speak. What's crucial is the most basic, but it's important, and it comes from a higher list. That's why it's not so crucial.
Yeah, but in Iraq, the Iraqi Jews wear a certain yarmulke, and in Poland, the Ashkenazi Jews wear a certain yarmulke. That's their minhag, and that's their minhag. What's to say that the minhag is more important? This one's more correct than this one's more. I mean, I'm not understanding how.
I'm not speaking so much of that type of minhagim, although there is a certain importance also to maintaining the tradition. I'm talking about more, let's say, the idea of hakafis, and Simchas Torah, dancing with the Torah. That we do. On Simchas Torah, we have
when they make the rounds around.
Make the rounds, yeah. It's not halacha. It's definitely not a mitzvah. It's not even a mitzvah derabanan. It's a custom the Jews have. But those types of customs, or let's say wearing a kippah, yeah. Which kind of kippah? It depends on all different things. That's not the point. But wearing kippah actually is more than a minhag. It became an obligation because of tznius, and certain minhagim also once they become accepted, they're upgraded, so to speak, and they become more binding. But so the minhag of hakafis, it's a custom. It's not a requirement. If someone skips hakafis, you can't hold anything against him. He didn't break a law. He prayed Shachris that day, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, for example. Ma'ariv is not even an obligation.
That's also the Rabbanan, no?
Yeah, well, prayer is the Raita, but praying 3 times a day is the Rabbanan. And Arvit is not even was never given as an obligation. It's called Rishut. It's if you want you could do it. If you want you could skip it. The Jewish community accepted it. Now it's considered as an obligation. So you have many of these things that are they're coming from a much higher source, and that's why they cannot be demanded. It's like a student, to pass you have to get a certain mark. Of course you want him to get 100, but if he gets a 75, what is it today? Usually.
That's like a C or a C plus. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
passing.
You're passing, so there's the aspects of Judaism which are passing, and then there's more. And of course the person who does it 100% and does more than passing, he's reaching into, in a sense, something deeper within godliness. It's something which is not something required. To do God's will in the world, if you do the mitzvahs, the biblical and the rabbinic, good. You passed. If you skip hakafis, you didn't break any halacha, but you missed out on making Hashem extra happy. You did what you required. You didn't do that extra. And Hashem is not, He's not telling you have to do it. So certain things you don't have to do. The beauty of it is that do it not because you have to do it, because you want to. Do it because you want to make me happier. That's the reason why Hashem didn't write in the Torah, dance with the Torah and Simchas Torah. What does Hashem, because if it was crucial, then it would be part of the Torah. This is Hashem is giving you an opportunity to connect to Him on a level beyond what's required of you. It's called a chassid, someone who does beyond the letter of the law. If you stick to the letter of the law, you're doing fine. You do extra. That's what makes you someone who's really into it. He's doing it not because he has to. He's doing it because he wants to. So someone who disobeys God's will in any of these ways, he is getting his life. He's becoming a chariot, a vehicle to the sitra achra, to the negative side. I think we're going to have to leave this for next week. The concept of sitra achra.
What does it mean literally?
The other side. Yeah. You have this the theological question that what do you mean the other side? I thought everything is God. Then there's the emotional question: why does God allow it to happen? If God wants us to do His will, then why is He making it so tough? We think that sometimes when it gets a little too hard. Just not to go to sleep with a question like that. So, like when we're saying that God created the klipa, sitra achra, it's in order there should be a challenge. And that's why it's actually called, one of the words for it in Kabbalah is for sitra achra, the other side, the side which is not holy, is klipa. What does klipa mean?
A shell?
A shell, a peel.
Okay.
You know that if your apples would grow on the tree without the peel, then they would, everything that happens to the peel would happen to the apple. So in order to sort of preserve the godliness of the world intact, God created the shell around it.
To protect.
To protect it. So the klipa, although outwardly it's not the fruit itself, it's what you cut off and throw in the garbage, right? Say some people use the oranges and the stuff, and there's types of peels that you could eat, types of peel that you can't eat.
The apple peel is very tasty.
Well, people eat apple peel. The orange peel a bit less. Also, the lemon peels you call those shavings. But generally, or it's like a nut. No one eats the nut peels. The shell. But it actually protects the fruit, and the klipa. Although we look at it and when we're really comparing the klipa, the negative force to the positive, to the kedusha, and the klipa is discarded. That's what it's there for. It's there to be thrown away. But we discover that only because of the klipa was the fruit able to mature and to survive. When a Jew overcomes the klipa, he reveals powers that otherwise he would not have known that he has. He wouldn't bring out his fullest potential. So that's what it's there for. It's not like in other religions where Satan is independent force on its own. Yeah, in Judaism we believe very strongly that there's nothing besides Hashem. But Hashem hides himself sometimes very strongly that it appears to be that there are forces that negate him, only in order for us to overcome and to realize that is not the case. If it wasn't there, then we'd never have a chance to realize that is not true. To overcome that concealment. So that's the positive aspect of the klipa. We'll talk about it next week.
What did Keri mean again? Keri doesn't mean hidden.
Keri means in a indirect way.
Oh.
Right. Good stop.
But Keri doesn't mean that Hashem's hiding himself?
It says that if you go with me, Keri means like we said coincidentally.
Oh, right.
Hashem will also behave with you in that way, which means that he
coincidental, yeah, it doesn't have
in and out. He's not revealed the whole time.
Kufrei Shur.
Questions? Comments?
What was the topic this week?
How every sin is in essence denying Hashem's existence or authority.
It's not the when I got a text today. That was not the
Oh
topic
yeah, we did.
yet.
I didn't get to that part. That's what we elaborated about.
Animals.
Animals. Yeah. So the example is that what do you?
What did the text say?
Why do animals sometimes attack humans? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when everything in the food chain, so to speak, is proper, so the animal realizes that the animal senses that its way to serve God is by being consumed by human. But if not, the animal sees a person who behaves like an animal, just like an animal behaves, and the animal behaves the way it behaves because God made it that way. God programmed it. But a human has the tendency of an animal, but also the power. He also has the ability to be a human. He uses brains to overcome it. An animal sees the human who behaves like an animal. The animal doesn't see itself as
Below.
huh?
As below.
Yes, I'm equal. So just like
So
a lion could eat a zebra, a lion could eat a person. A person has nothing, no worth beyond the worth of an animal, which is when he doesn't do his mitzvahs. That's why we find that tzaddikim, however, like the famous story of Or Chaim, or even earlier Daniel, the lion's den. Was that a miracle that the lions didn't eat Daniel or Or Chaim? You look at it as a miracle. The truth is it's not.
He was above them, he showed them he was above them, and they couldn't eat him, or what?
That's natural. That's actually that's in the Torah, that I will place my fear of you over the animals, over the beasts. That's nature. Nature is that an animal could eat a plant and a human could eat an animal, not the other way around.
Yeah, but if an animal's
Just like we
rabid,
never
if
see
it's,
plants eating animals, because plants are a lower form of being. So we should never see animals attacking and hurting humans.
Only in science fiction.
Huh?
Only in science fiction.
No, but if you
Or in
have...
real life. Why? Because when an animal sees a human who's not behaving like a human, he's not being human. What's a
How
human?
do
Is
they
someone
make
who
that
believes in
judgment?
God. Someone who sins.
How can an
Puts
animal
himself-
make that judgment?
They
though?
quite feel
It
it.
senses it.
Yeah.
Animals, you can't
How do we
you can't
understand
bribe
that?
them. They see you. They see what you
But
can't
how do
see.
they know that someone acts like a human and someone acts less than?
They
a
don't know,
human?
but they sense.
They can feel it.
How can they feel it? How can we know how animals feel? We're not veterinarians. We're not psychologists.
We're not talking about that type of knowledge. It says that, for example, Bilam with the donkey, right?
Right, Bill and the donkey.
So
Okay.
the angel. Bilam
Okay.
didn't see the angel. The donkey saw the angel. Animals were given power to see what the human eye cannot see sometimes. Animal, it looks at
Right.
the thing in front of it.
Birds.
It senses.
Really.
Salam Elokim.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But if you have also a dog with rabies, then it's sick, it'll attack anybody, maybe.
Oh,
A
absolutely.
rabid dog.
It'll attack
No,
its
it
master.
won't attack someone who the dog senses is a step higher.
Yeah, but if it's
Not-
rabid,
But if they're
not-
hungry, if their life is on the line, they will bite you. If
I don't know if it
that
means
doesn't
that if
happen
someone
every day.
starts up with an animal and invades
no, but if
its
it's
space.
sick,
Well,
if
if you
it's
kick
rabid,
the
it will
animal
attack
like-
anything. I think. I don't know.
Yes,
I've never seen a
definitely. I
rabid
had
dog,
that
but-
experience.
Yeah, well,
You've seen a rabid dog attack?
Not a rabid dog, an older dog who just went a little bit crazy.
But I think someone who's a tzaddik, someone who's worthy of being called a human, which means he's living up his humanity to its fullest potential,
Right.
is protected from anything, because the nature God put it into animals is that they have fear of humans.
Respect and
Now,
fear.
not every
Not every
human
animal.
will be not every time that a dog didn't bite you in the street, it means you're a tzaddik. Don't jump to conclusions. But when a tzaddik is lowered into a pit full of hungry lions and lions don't touch him, that means that they sense that this person is higher than them. Yeah, some animals, zebras are scared of lions, and they're both animals, right? Zebras don't attack lions.
No.
So it could be the fact that the animal is scared of you doesn't mean that it sees that you're a human. It might see that you're just a smarter animal. And sometimes the animal will feel that a lion is usually not scared of other animals. It's,
The king of the jungle.
lions fight with animals also. There's the hyenas. They
In packs, maybe.
there's
They have this video on YouTube with this guy. I don't know how the lions love him. They jump on him. He jumps on them. It's very nice to watch.
wild or
What animal are you
trained.
talking about?
Look up on YouTube. I forgot the name. Just put a man playing with lions or something like that. And these lions, I don't know why they love him.
Maybe
And they don't
he
bite
was-
him. Maybe they love bite him, but they don't hurt him.
Maybe he raised them up.
I don't know how it
Oh,
works
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Somehow they know.
He taught me, maybe.
So that's what it was. That's the second half. That ties in. We got focused on the biblical things. So
Tell me,
we'll
Rabbi,
continue that.
when did the Sanhedrin fall apart? After the destruction of Beit HaMikdash?
Yeah,
The second one?
about 300 years after.
Oh, it lasted
No,
that long?
a little less. Till the time the Mishnah was sealed.
What is it, like 200?
About
And when was Rabbi,
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on
yeah.
it.
What's his name? Rabbi Akiva was when? Was around,
Rabbi Kiva was right. Rabbi Kiva was during the destruction.
he saw the Beit HaMikdash then?
Yeah.
Did he live till 70, or how long did Rabbi Akiva live until? Do we
No,
know?
he lived till 120.
Oh, Rabbi Akiva lived till 120? Like Moshe Rabbeinu?
So Rabbi Kiva had
He got
3
skinned?
periods in his life. So he started his career only
Till
when
he was 40, right. Yeah. Was he skinned alive? Rabbi Akiva?
He was
combed.
Combed.
Yeah.
What was the leader there?
So having a million?
Titus or
You
something?
think he would start at 80, he would live to 160,
I
180?
don't know.
What animals? Yeah, they combed him with metal.
Is there going to be a mini?
I asked Lever if he.
I don't think so.
Take some chocolate.
How many were 7, right?
7.
I'm looking at it.
Are we still recording?
And he's planning to go?
If we need to.
If he's busy.
We're recording?
Yeah,
Is
but
that
I might get him.
Stop it.
So if we,
But then we need 2 more people
yeah.
anyway.